Hey guys, it's Solly from Kitchen Table Research, and I hope that you are having an out of this world weekend. But I want to pick up on part two of the Menendez brothers and kind of close that case out for you guys, and then I'm going to go back to some of the Crime Con content. So let's get into, we kind of talked about Jose, who was daddy or father Menendez, and Kitty, who is the mother. And then Joseph was born in 68. His name is Joseph Lyle, but he went by Lyle. So Lyle was born in 68. Eric was born in 70. So the brothers grew up very close to each other. And they lived out on the East Coast for a long time. Both of them attended Princeton Day School, and then Lyle actually attended Princeton University. So then the family moved to Calabasas, California, which is a very upper scale neighborhood outside of the greater Los Angeles area. Eric attended high school in Calabasas, and he was put on academic probation for cheating. So he got put on academic probation, and then he eventually dropped out after the allegations of plagiarism. So you kind of already see this pattern of behavior. I don't know if it was the way that they were raised or what, but they think, they can cheat the rules. They go in and start committing some robberies, I believe, around Calabasas. And so the family was kind of able to squash that. And then they moved into their mansion in Beverly Hills, which was at 722 North Elm Drive. So, So the family had been out. Kitty and Jose had been out like fishing and working the previous day. So that weekend they were just taking, an evening to themselves. And around 10 p.m., neighbors reported what sounded like fireworks, but we know that they were actually pew-pews. But it was summertime, so nobody really questioned it. I mean, this was Beverly Hills, like it was the no crime area at this time. And so no one really thought that much about it. So both Kitty and Jose received multiple GSWs to the kneecaps. And this is kind of what made the police look into the mob angle. It really looked like a hit, but when detectives started asking around some people that had mob related ties and stuff, they said that even if Jose had been a target, that they would have never harmed Kitty. I don't know. That's just what they said. But the detectives could not tie any of the crime back to any mob-related ties. And basically every lead had dried up. So it's not until we start to see this pattern of behavior months following the funeral and the unaliving of Kitty and Jose that the police start to focus on Lyle and Eric. And one of the reasons why is because they were spending massive amounts of money in a very short amount of time. They were bragging to friends. They were being kind of wordsy. They were, of course, I think both of them are definitely narcissists. And so, a narcissist always thinks that they're smarter than the police, better than the police, and that they're going to get away with this. So I think Eric and Lyle, especially in their companionship, kind of had this, I've got your back, you've got mine. We're the only two people that know this secret. So the day, there was actually 3 funerals held for the Menendez family. The first one I think the first 2 were in California. And so Lyle and Eric did attend both of those funerals. One of them bought a Rolex, to attend the funerals and new suits. And then the family actually had a funeral service in Miami, or in Florida, where some of the family still resided, because if you remember, they were Cuban immigrants. And so Kyle and Eric don't even go to that funeral. And they do state that, it's just been too much for them. Yet they're like taking private jets to New York and going to basketball games. So we'll get into that here in a second. But I would say really that scope is not that weird. Like, they're millionaires. A lot of people go buy good new suits for funerals. And so for him to, include a Rolex with that and then attend 2 out of the 3 funerals. And if it would have just stayed, well, we're grieving, we can't make it out there, we're there with you in spirit, and that was kind of the end of the behavior, I might have said, okay, I mean, that's not super out of the realm for somebody that's dealing with this. But then we see them at a Knicks game, and this is a super famous basketball card. They were front row at the Knicks, and in one of the basketball cards, you can actually see them. Let me pull it up for you. Okay, so the arrow is already pointing to the brothers. You can see them over there on the left-hand side, both Lyle and Eric sitting courtside to a Knicks game. This is a really famous basketball card. You know what? If anybody has one of these cards, shoot me a message. This would be something I would love to add to my studio. So we see them. This is like a very collectible card. Mark Jackson, he's a point guard for the New York Knicks. And you can obviously see the Menendez brothers sitting courtside. Okay, so let's get into the trial of the 2 brothers. Okay, so they were actually both tried together, and each of them had separate juries in the first trial, which I think is like really odd. If anybody has any more information about why they would do that, I would love to know. So both juries ended in a deadlock. And of course, Leslie Abraham was the defense for, was the defense for one of the brothers. I believe Eric. She was Eric's defense attorney, and she's the one that put out that the motive was driven by this abuse that the brothers had faced for years and years and years, right? Now, when this first came out, it was very shocking to the media. And again, I've used this as a reference many times, but it's like when Kaylee Anthony's trial came out and the defense used the same kind of tactic. So the first trial, they were tried together. The juries ended in a deadlock. So then the LA District Attorney Gil Garcetti announced that they would be tried again. And this time the judge refused for there to be cameras in the courtroom. So both brothers this time were convicted to first degree unaliving and conspiracy to commit the unaliving. So that was the charge that was handed down. Now, the penalty for this, they could be going up against life. They could be going up for the unalive row. However, in California, they don't really practice, executions. And so, even if they would have been handed down a death sentence, I think that it would have been turned to a life sentence, or they would have never actually received dates for that. But at any rate, they were not given the unalive penalty. They were given life sentences without the ability to get out. So life without parole. And this also held that none of the Supreme Court justices voting to review the case could overturn the life without parole. And there was a little bit of misconduct in the courtroom going back to Leslie Abraham, who was the defense attorney. So there was some mishandling at trial. But the jury stated that the reason that they did not give them unalive row or that sentence was because they didn't have really any violent tendencies in their past. But at the same time, that the jury also did not believe the abuse allegation. So I want to know from you guys what you think. Now, there has been some new updates for, like, I believe Lyle got married Actually, both of the brothers got married during their life sentences, and have carried out relationships from inside of prison. But let me show you what Lyle and Eric look like today. So I know we all remember the Easter sweater boys that sat in the courtroom that day, but it doesn't look like these two have aged very well.